being your boss.
Good evening. Welcome to the premiere of Book It Now. I am your humble host, Quentin Felix Yeoman. Those who know me and know me well call me Q. I invite you to as well. I would like to thank you for joining us this evening. This will be a very special journey for me. Personally, this will be a journey of love, lots of laughter, and above all, growth. You see, my hope is that you'll continue to follow me on this journey, and maybe, just maybe, we'll learn a thing or two together. Now, we've truly designed Book It Now to be a platform of elevation, offering people from all different backgrounds the arena to share their experiences and the things they're passionate about with you, with me, with us. It is my belief that their courage in sharing their stories and our ability to listen with empathy is the recipe for a better world for all of us. Now, my first and inaugural guest here is a very special person to me. He's a legend in my eyes. He's been in the film industry for over 40 years. Really a testament to his hard work and dedication. You've seen him in over 100 films. His credits and resume runs deep. You'll currently see him on Bounce TV, Saints and Sinners, as Rex Fisher. You may be familiar with him as the role of Jeff Brown in the Academy Award-winning movie Ray. The younger folks out there, you're probably more familiar with his role as Pinky in the cult classics Next Friday and Friday After Next. Here to join me on the inaugural show of Book It Now is Clifton Powell. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here.
What an honor it is to be here.
Thank you. Now, I really want to thank you for joining us. This is, like I said, this is a moment for me. I do look up to you as far as, everything you've done, putting your head down and working hard. And I really want to share with the people today, your experiences and, get to know each other a little bit better. And like I said, my hope is we can create a better world for all of us with a bit more understanding and background on each other.
Cool. Well, that's my hope too. So,
Great.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here, man. It's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
I'm ready to dive into it. I know you got a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I certainly do. And just for the people that may not be as familiar with you as they should be, why don't you share a little bit about your background, where you're from, where you went to school, maybe?
Well, first of all, I was born in Southeast D.C., right here, not too far down the road. Yeah, and I grew up right near Eastern High School until I was about, I think, 5, and then I moved into the Kenilworth area. I went to Neville Thomas High School, and I went to Woodson Junior High School, and then I went to the Mather for 1 year. And then I went, I transferred from the Mather and went to St. Anthony's.
Okay.
I had a tough upbringing. I grew up in a tough area. Kenilworth during my day was tough. It wasn't like it is now. It's a lot of violence, a lot of guns and crazy drugs, and it wasn't like that when I was coming up. And I had a lot of great teachers. I had a lot of great people who helped raise me. Rest in peace, Miss Imogene Johnson, who was like a mom to me. Daryl Harvey, who was like my surrogate big brother, helped raise me. My mom died, pretty tragically when I was 4.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And my dad, along with my sister Mary Ann Brown, God rest her soul, my nephew James Brown, sportscaster James Brown, helped raise me. And Daryl Harvey was very instrumental in keeping me straight and keeping me on the straight and narrow. And I had some really great teachers at Neville Thomas, and then I went to Woodson Junior High, and I had some really great teachers over there. I remember Mr. Ginyard, I remember Mr. Gray, I remember Miss Turner. In fact, Miss Turner was a teacher who I went to her in the 9th grade, and I said, I'm going to go to DeMatha and be like my nephew JB. And she said, Clifton Powell is crazy and as much of a cut up as you are. Because I was like, my father called me mischievous.
Yeah.
I was, he called it mischievous. And I was mischievous. But I wasn't a tough guy, but I was tough. I was hoodish, but I wasn't really getting in a lot of trouble. Because, I get my butt spanked. So I remember going to Miss Turner and telling her I was going to DeMatha, and she said, "Boy, you can't even go to an assembly by yourself."
Wow.
And
wow.
I told her I had an application I needed her to sign, give me a recommendation. And she looked at me right in the eye and she said, "Clifton Powell, what am I going to say good about you?" I said, "Man, I'm cutting up, acting like a goofball." And she looked right at me. She said, "I don't know what you're going to be one day, boy. You're going to be somebody." She said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lie on this recommendation and tell them you're a great student, a great kid." Because I was one of those kids in the back of the assembly shooting the spitballs at people.
I'm familiar with that experience.
Yeah, you know that. You know that experience. So, she basically lied on the recommendation, and I got into DeMatha. It wasn't the application, but, once you do your application, you got to get recommendations. So, ended up going to DeMatha, and I've never been able to say this to Miss Turner if she's out there. I really want to thank her because she really literally looked me in the eye and said, "Clifton Powell, what are you going to be? You're such a cut up." And so when I got to DeMatha, I started cutting up again. And, back in my day, you couldn't do crazy stuff. I'm on the back of the bus giving a finger to people and stuff, crazy, hanging out with the white guys, Joe Lassick and some of the other guys. And I said, you know what, I better get out of here with all boys, because I was just too much of a cut up. And James Wheeler, one of the guys in my neighborhood, I grew up in Mayfair, right across the street from Parkside and right in the Kenilworth area. Right. And I saw a play, and I said, "Man, that looks like fun." And so, the next year I ended up going to St. Anthony's, and I got into a play and then got into a workshop program, and that's literally how I got started.
What about it looked fun? Like you seeing this play for the first time, right? What drove you to say, "Hey, I want to do that"?
It's really funny, man. And I think I left this out. My favorite thing to do was play football. Okay. So, of course, I'm a Washington Redskins, held to the Redskins.
Dallas Cowboy Nation.
Well, we really going to end this interview right here, y'all, because I don't even deal with Cowboy fans.
DC stands for Dallas Cowboys. So I'm just...
No.
That's just the way I'm...
Redskins all the way.
That's just the way I'm...
So I literally, Q, wanted to be Charlie Taylor. And I could run, I could catch. Yeah. I was fast, but I was little. I had a lot of moves. And, once I didn't really catch on, I played 1 year at DeMatha, but I literally had no desire to be anything after football other than maybe drive a bus. And I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I saw the play, and I just thought it was fascinating, Do
you remember what play it was?
It was called My Fair Lady.
My Fair Lady.
My Fair Lady, the year before I got to St. Anthony's, and the play I got involved in was Little Abner. So I saw the play, and it wasn't anything that kind of went off in my head, like I want to be an actor. I saw the play, and it just looked like fun. Yeah. I came out of the hood. I'd never seen a play. I was like, man, I look like a lot of fun. I might do that. Not to do it like to be an actor, but just do it to have something to do.
Sure.
And of course, I saw the girls. I was like, well, I couldn't get no girls because I had gap here, and I had the beadiest little hair. This guy said to me one time, he said, "Man, look like a rabbit pooped on your head." Man, that's horrible.
Oh no.
And back in my day, it wasn't really fashionable to, be dark. Because I was the brunt of a lot of dark jokes. But I never really felt like I was anybody but myself, So I did the play, and there was one of the guys in the play. His name is David Jackson.
Which play was
I did Little Abner.
So
I ended up going to. I saw My Fair Lady that summer, and I ended up going to the St. Anthony's that fall. Okay. And so they were doing Little Abner coming up, and I just went to teacher, and I'll never forget his name, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Reddy. And I told him, I said, "Yo, man, I want to do the play, and I don't want to do no damn singing. Just put me in." And he looked at me and says, "Well, Cliff, we'll see, buddy." And he put me in the play. And from there, David Jackson heard about a program called Workshop for Careers in the Arts, which is now Duke Ellington. And I just went up. I just rode up. It's a wonderful school, and all my teachers, and rest in peace, Mike Malone and Glenda Dickerson and Kenneth Doherty and Peggy Cooper and Charles Brown and Skipper Driscoll and Clyde Barrett, all my teachers, man, who were just incredible and just helped raise me. And so, and Debbie Allen was my dance teacher. Wow. So I got into the program. I really didn't go to get into the program. I rode up with my partner just to hang out with him. And they kept coming out and asking me to come in to audition. And I was like, bro, I'm not with auditioning, you know? So, you know, sometimes I think the angels and the gods pick your work for you, you know?
How old are you at this time?
I was 16, 17.
16, okay.
I think I was a junior at St. Anthony's.
Okay.
And so I never forget, his name was Kenneth Doherty. He came out like 5 times. So on the 5th time, I said, man, what do you want me to do? He said, well, just come in and audition. So I went in and auditioned. I did something goofy. I think I played a black Chinese. I was like, and they put me in a program. And I was like, well, since they put me in, I may as well go. And I really, truly didn't have any desire to be an actor. I still felt like I could play football.
Yeah.
And I just, and I tell students all the time, and to the young people out there listening, I was the worst actor in my program. The worst actor. And about a month in, Charles Brown, God rest his soul, I gotta say that, man. He came to me, man. He says, you know, Sweet Pea. My nickname is Sweet Pea. So he said, you know, P, he said, you're a little rough around the edges, man, and you're scaring the people around here. And I said, man, I ain't really trying to scare nobody, but I'm not trying to be no actor and do that little crap, bro. Because I was literally there, Quentin, just to be there and have anything else to do. I was working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I was going to literally be a bus driver, you know. So at the end of the day, he convinced me, because I wouldn't wear my leotards and tights. So he convinced me to wear my leotards and tights.
Got him on.
And he took me under his wings, man. So that's literally how I got started.
So what made you continue on that path? There's one thing to say, all right, I'll submit, you know, I'll do this thing for you. You've been showing interest in me, you know, I'll follow through, rather than this is my life's work now.
You know, I had a teacher come in named Glenda Dickerson, and she kind of really believed in me and took me under her wings, you know. And then I start catching on to the magic of the art, you know. It's like sitting here with you, man, watching you do your thing, you know. It's something magical about entertainment, you know. So that's what happened, and you know. Yeah.
So why don't we take a look at a clip from Saints and Sinners?
Wow.
Rex Fisher. Let's see what you got going on here.
Oh, Rex Fisher.
And now, an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at Saints and Sinners.
If you wasn't my blood, I'd put your ass in the ground.
Hi, I'm Clifton Powell.
I'm Trey Chaney. I'm Tyron Turner.
And we're on the set of Saints and Sinners, Season 2. Last season we left off with Rex Fisher being incarcerated. And we'll learn as the course of Season 2 progresses why Rex was locked up.
You trying to play dirty with me? You expect me to roll over and just take it?
Rex is a human being. Being incarcerated, that affects your mind. And I think the beauty of this character is that we'll see some different colors in Rex this season. He reconnects with his son, Kendrick, played by Trey Chaney.
I ain't been here for you like I should have been, but I swear I never wanted to see you end up in here.
The backstory of Kendrick not really having a great relationship with his dad, you could see it in his eyes that he was kind of broken.
And this place sucks the soul out of you if you don't have anybody.
They have some moments which, when you think about a father and a son, could play out to be good or bad.
I did what I had to do to survive, boy. And you call that being a man?
Drama is obstacles versus objectives, and that's what we're going to see. And I think it's fun as an actor, because when you've trained tough guys, you got to bring in some real tough guys. We're bringing on Tyron Turner, who is another monster actor.
We got a problem.
I play the character of Boomer. Boomer is a street kind of guy. He's no joke. He's nothing to play with. Rex is another gangster kind of guy, and my character has a conflict with him, so we cross each other in jail, and we have to talk.
Same moves in the street, same moves they got in here. We gonna have our business played with.
If you watch the show, it's like a page turner. At the table read, I wish I could have popcorn.
What's up, Judas? I should kill your bitch ass right now.
Jabari knows that he has to pay. He should really be bracing himself and trying to figure out where he can go. Maybe Istanbul, Oklahoma, Iowa. But he's going to have to go somewhere because he can't stay in sight. And that's just how the game goes. Stay tuned. Season 2 is bigger and better.
Only on Bounce.
God, man, you are so talented, you know, and again, you know, all the hard work and dedication, you know, we just touched on your experience into getting into acting. Why don't you talk a bit more about the training aspect? Because that's just, you know, you touched on stepping into it. Now, speak to, you know, forming that craft?
Well, once I met Glenda Dickerson, along with Kenneth Doherty and some of the other teachers that I named, they kind of really shaped me. And Glenda took a real interest in my career. Not so much my career, because I didn't have a career, but she took an interest in trying to. She saw some potential. And then I ended up going to Emerson College for theater. And by the time I got to Emerson, I was really immersed in theater. And I came out of Emerson in '78, and then I went into New York from '79 to '89, and I really got immersed in the Stanislavski system, which we refer to now as method acting.
Method, okay.
And the Stanislavski system really speaks to the mind of the actor. So I really learned and trained, and did all kinds of theaters. I did readings. I did any kind of show that I could do, even
the mind of the actor.
The mind of the actor. So when you study the Stanislavski system, you figure out the internal mind of the character, and then you put the physical on. So if he's got a hunchback, you may do this, or he may have a limp, but you understand the psychological and internal makeup of your character,
right? And
it really helps give a stronger performance. De Niro, Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, Taraji, Meryl Streep, Denzel, all studied, Sam Jackson, all studied in what we call method acting in the Stanislavski system. The Actor Studio back in the day, Marilyn Monroe and all of them. So I fell into studying. There's another technique called the Meisner technique, which is similar, and it does the physical first, and then the psychological.
So which do you prefer?
I prefer the Stanislavski system, because once you learn the mind of your character, then you can, like myself, and it's a blessing to be able to morph in and out of characters.
Right.
But for instance, watching Rex Fisher, there's another clip we'll see later, hopefully, where I'm playing a pastor. And it's the same thing as when I played Pinky. It's the same through line. And the through line is the main theme of the character. And what I just try to do, based on my training, is just tell the truth. And then we have this thing called substitution and sense memory, where you go back into your own life and borrow different aspects of your own personality, or things that you studied, or people you've seen, or you do your research.
How is that balance, right? So pulling in and out of yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons acting is so whimsical is because you got to keep yourself grounded.
Right. Absolutely.
You have to make sure that your life is grounded, so you emotionally are well enough to really go to different places.
Right.
Places that you can have. Say you're doing a scene, and somebody, you got to cry. A lot of times we put memories away. You don't want to go back and visit your grandma who might have passed away. Sometimes bringing all that up can get you off balance.
Right.
So you have to be very careful to make sure you're grounded emotionally, so that you can go visit those places. And then you put it to rest when you go home,
But, we're humans. So you're not always going to be grounded. You're going to have times where you're uncomfortable, unstable, but nevertheless, you got to show up to work. Right?
Yeah.
So kind of speak to that experience. What have you done to kind of keep that balance in yourself when you're not all the way there?
When I teach classes, I teach, I use prayer and meditation, yoga. I don't advocate drugs, any kind of drugs. And I advocate, if you drink a little alcohol at a minimum, and you can manage it, because as an entertainer, you really have to keep your mind, your body, and your spirit in great shape. I'm 62, and I'm trying to keep it together. Thank you, brother. I'm trying to be like you. And early on when I started, I knew it was going to be a long journey, and I knew I had to take care of myself. So I stayed away from the drugs. And I stayed away from the hard alcohol. And the other thing is, I try to get my students and myself to physically work out. To watch your diet, to eat right, because your body is really your instrument.
Absolutely.
And if you show up at work and you're blurry-eyed and you're hungover and you can't run up the hill or run across the field and, get your lines, then you're not going to be working, you know. So I kind of adopted that early on in my career, and I'm still trying to live it today. The pressures of this business can be overwhelming sometimes, being in the spotlight.
Can I speak more to that? Being in the spotlight, people see you, they're going to want pictures. They see you, they see a role. They don't see Clifton Powell, they see Pinky, or they see Rex Fisher, right? Talk to that and your experience in navigating through that for 30 plus years.
Well, I honestly want to say you got some great questions, man. And that's a real hard one. Like I was saying before, is I try to eat right. I try to keep my alcohol to a minimum. I drink red wine. Every now and then I have a vodka. I think my biggest vice right now is smoking cigars, and trying to keep that to a minimum. And it's very difficult. So I try to keep my mind, I got to start working out more. Because as an artist and as an entertainer and as an actor, you got to be on point all the time. And it's really not a lot of room for error, and then you have to handle all the other pressures, the adulation from your fans. I oftentimes, and I really want people to listen to this, get labeled as only playing the bad guys. I played pastors, doctors, lawyers, police officers, and the way I try to handle it, Quentin, is to pray and meditate every day. I pray and meditate every day for the last 35 years, and I try to start my day in a positive way. I haven't always been successful in going through a day without maybe losing my cool or not wanting to take a picture sometimes, but I try to be accommodating, understanding that my blessing comes from the gods, man. I mean, I'm really blessed to be able to make a career doing this, but there are times when it's challenging. There are times when people, want to grab you, or you coming out of the bathroom. I remember once I had my kids, so sometimes fans can, can be, somewhat obnoxious, but I don't know if they mean to be. Sometimes people just get excited to see you. So I think and then when you're working, there's a lot of adulation. People cater to you, and I think you have to keep your mind in a certain place to stay humble and to know that it's a blessing, and that's what I try to do.
Right. And that's beautiful. That mind and meditation, that's a big part of my life as well. But I'm very curious to, hear more about just being seen as more of an object, right, than a human, right, that has this job where you inherently have to connect with yourself and a piece of fiction, right, and deliver that in a way that's palatable and, believable, right? So in doing so and in doing it so well, people see you in a certain way and they think they can treat you any kind of way because of that. And could you kind of speak to, the tribulations of just being known, right?
I think some of that comes with the territory. I think people, see us maybe not like real human beings sometimes because, I know Marvin Gaye's from D.C. If I'd have saw Marvin Gaye, I probably would have lost my mind. But we have to realize that entertainers are still people, and for the most part, I try to be very accommodating when it comes to taking pictures and shaking hands, or even being making an appearance somewhere. But at the same time, when it becomes obtrusive, I have to kind of put my foot down, and I think that people get caught up in a character, and I think we have to remember that we're actors portraying characters. Like, I'm nothing like Rex Fisher. Rex Fisher is a boss. Rex Fisher will put a gun in your mouth. I've never been arrested, never been in trouble. So I think people have to understand it's just how we've been trained, and not take it so personal, and understand that we are trained actors who morph in and out of different types of characters. That's what it is.
Okay. That's definitely a message I think that needs to be shared. And I kind of want to move forward a little bit, and because I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the current state of Hollywood, right? With this Me Too movement, Bill Cosby's trials and everything that's going on with all the actors and all the different entertainers and the stories and the women that have been so courageous to say step up and voice their opinions. Could you kind of speak to just kind of growing up or growing through that environment?
Well, I think as men who work in this environment, we have to be respectful.
Absolutely.
And when we speak about the hashtag Me Too movement, I think we have to understand that women of all nationalities, of all hues, religious backgrounds, all genders work in this business. And I myself, I was raised, my sister raised me along with my cousins and my aunts and my nieces were there. Absolutely. So I've had a lot of women raise me, strong women. And what I've tried to do is be respectful, and I think we as men have to be respectful when you're on a movie set. You can't just cross certain lines. You're working. You're there to work. There's a lot of camaraderie that goes on a movie set or a television series.
It has to be.
And I think there's just a line that everybody needs to just be respectful of. And that's what I've tried to do throughout my career. I try to make it a habit of, I've dated a lot outside of my career, but I try to make it a habit, I think, over the last 35 years to not get involved with the people that I work with, intimately.
That should just be standard across the board.
It's difficult, and as far as Bill Cosby is concerned, there are a lot of different angles that we could take with Bill Cosby. Absolutely. I think he came up in an era where, a lot of crazy stuff went on, and I think he admitted to a lot of it. And it's a very weird line, handling power, making a lot of money and handling power. I think men and women have to learn to manage power.
With power comes responsibility.
With power comes responsibility. So I think, I hate to see what's happening to Bill Cosby, but I think we got to remember that he admitted to a lot of it, and you just, I heard someone say you just can't drug people or drug women and take advantage of them. But I'm certainly not one to throw any stones at anyone because I know the pressures that come with handling money and power. And we can't
speak more to those because I think for a lot of our viewers here, that is the hard line for them. You just don't behave that way, right? And a lot of our viewers, right, will have that experience being with or around money, power, the different influences. So could you speak a bit more to that?
Well, I think it's easy to say how you would be if you were Bill Cosby, or if you were Meryl Streep, or you were Denzel Washington. But I don't know if we can understand the pressures that come with living in Hollywood, living in that fishbowl, making money, being adored by men, women of all nationalities, everywhere you go. Having to deal with your personal home life, having to deal with your own frailties as a man. I think a lot of us are weak in the flesh,
Absolutely.
men or women,
Absolutely.
black or white, gay or straight. It doesn't really matter. I think we just have to try to do the best that we can. That's what I try to do. Learning to manage power is not easy. Learning to handle adulation consistently, having money changes your life, changes how people see you, and I think it's important to do as much as you can. That's why I pray and meditate every day to try to really keep my mind in a certain place, but it's not easy. I got caught up in Hollywood. I was married, I divorced, and I wasn't a great husband, and I cheated, and I have to be honest about that, and so I try to instruct my kids to do better. I tell my son I want him always to be better than I was. I didn't handle everything very well. It's very difficult. It puts a lot of pressure on your friendships. It puts a lot of pressure on your marriages. It puts a lot of pressure on your mind.
So, what else, can folks do that are maybe navigating through that gray area of I'm working my way up the ladder, I'm experiencing these new things as far as attractiveness and money and the political things that get thrown your way in Hollywood or in any arena, right? What are some of the different things people can do to kind of stay grounded and keep that, humility in them?
Well, like I said, I use prayer and meditation. Keep, know your circle of friends.
Sure. That's very important.
I think you have to keep in mind that to be an artist and do well in this business is a blessing. For every one of us who's successful, it's 100 people who didn't become successful, who tried. It's a blessing to make the kind of money that we make. I think I try to remember that. I try to remember the days when I was so poor I couldn't window shop.
Right.
I try to remember the days when I stood on the train platform at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, freezing, praying that one day I get a steady job as an actor. I try to remember those things, and even when you do that, you can still get caught up. It's like the vitamin A to your ego, and you have to just be honest with yourself. So I'm at the latter stages of my career, so it's a lot easier to handle now. I'm older. I got to Hollywood when I was 37. I didn't make my first million until I was almost in my 50s. So and that didn't help me either, because I still got caught up coming out of all of that after my divorce, understanding the meaning of money, understanding friendships. All I can say is it's a daily thing that you have to just try to keep doing with yourself, because there are a lot of pitfalls.
Do actors have a union or something?
We have AFTRA and SAG, which is the Film and Screen Actors Guild union, and theater actors have equity, and union does a lot, but they can't really be with you every day. It's just like being a ball player.
Right. But what are these organizations doing as a union?
As a union, now you have programs that they try to help you with and to handle things. We have workshops. I think we need to do more of that. To help young people learn how to handle their money. And some actors have passed away, didn't have life insurance, health insurance. So there are a lot of things that go on, but it's just a daily grind. And I think it's got to be a personal thing where you just want to be successful, but you want to do it the right way and try to treat people the way you would like to be treated. Try to be respectful to men and women, young and old, black or white.
Love is love.
Red or yellow. That's what I do, and I haven't always been the greatest at it.
Right.
There are times I've lost my temper. Sometimes when I lose my temper, I feel like I'm justified. If I'm on a set and somebody's racist or somebody's dictatorial or out of line or offensive, then I'm going to stand up for myself. But I try to come with love and try to have a good time.
Great. I really asked, the question about the unions because, I'm just thinking, to piggyback. I feel like, the NBA and the NFL and these different, sporting organizations have these training classes for these athletes to show them how to use their money, how to deal with fame, how to, navigate certain things. And, to my knowledge, I don't know, does, acting have similar things to kind of, I'm circling back to that Me Too, right? To see, if there's something we can do on the front end to try to grab people and say, hey, this is what you'll be experiencing, but you got to remember, you got to keep yourself.
I'm not sure that they have that consistently. I think the NBA does a lot of work. NFL, baseball league. I think we need more of it from the Actors Guilds. To try to get us acclimated to some of the things that we're going to face as we move ahead in this business. It's tough. So,
great. Why don't we take a quick break and look at a real quick clip from Black Lightning.
They wanted us to stay down, to stay scared. Well, I'm standing here tonight to tell you. No, this ain't the ride you want. We're gonna send the 100 back a message.
With Black Lightning's help and with God's help, we can save this community.
Let me see.
That was a quick clip from Black Lightning. So kind of talk about some of your favorite experiences here with over 200 credited films and credits. Talk about, just your experiences doing different roles. Like you said, you've been a pastor. You did a one-man show as Langston Hughes, Martin Luther King.
Wow.
Just the list goes on and on.
Well, like I said, I wanted to be a football player, man. And I never imagined any of this. And I know that's hard to believe. like I said, I was the worst actor in my program, and thank God for my teachers, all of them. Once I began to understand the idiom of television and film and theater, and I began to understand the Stanislavski system, it became easier to morph in and out of characters. All characters have the same through line, the truth. So, you know, I had a lot of fun playing Pinky, because Pinky is kind of wild and crazy like I am. You know, playing Cuddy in Dead Presidents was a challenge because I don't fight, I don't get in trouble. But what I do is I do a lot of research, and I watch other movies and I watch other actors. Menace to Society, I rode around the hood and I saw some guys with their haircuts, and you know, I just try to do the truth in every character. Dr. King, when they asked me to go and, you know, read for Dr. King, it was really kind of like an accident. Reuben Cannon, the casting director, said, "Man, what is your picture doing in here, Cliff? You play a lot of tough guys." And I said, "Well, you know, I want to see if I can read for Dr. King." And you know what I tell young people is I trained. So I stayed up all night long, and I watched Eyes on the Prize, because it's not every day that you get a call and somebody says you're playing Dr. King. You know, so I went in, and they said, "Well, what, do you have anything prepared?" And I went in and I said, "Now it doesn't matter what happens now. We've got some difficult days ahead." And they heard that and said, "Whoa." And I said, "Well, you know, I just been practicing." And, you know, I tell young people, like for instance with Cuddy, I stayed up all night long and memorized Cuddy, because I was only going in to read for Cowboy and a Spider. But I called my agent and I said, "I like this character Cuddy." She said, "Well, I think a star name has Cuddy." I said, "I'm just gonna ask him if I can read it."
Read it for it. That's all you need.
But what I tell young people out there, and I really want them to hear this: preparation. Success is opportunity meeting preparation.
Absolutely.
And so for Cuddy, I stayed up all night. They gave me a chance to read Cuddy, and I did it just like you saw in the movies. You know, so and we'll come back to that. Because it really is, you know, something that is part of my training, you know.
But I do want to circle back to that training, right? So we touched briefly on it for a minute, but I do want you to circle back to, was it the teacher, Miss Dickerson? What was that experience right there? Because that's where you transferred from, I'm doing this play, to I'm working with her. Now I'm at Emerson studying this.
Well,
right?
I think Kenneth Doherty, Mike Malone, Debbie Allen, Charles Brown, Skipper Driscoll was my speech teacher. When I first started in speech, this is how I sounded. "Hi, my name is Clifton Powell. I want to be an actor. I think, you know, if I want to be a football player, I'll be an actor." Really worked extensively with me speech-wise. I had so many wonderful teachers. When Glenda came in, Kenneth Doherty and her were doing a play, and she just felt like I would be right as this African king in The Lion and the Jewel. And I'm like, well, once I got into the magic of theater, I really start to immerse myself in it. It's almost like I was picked to do it. And then I, you know, took it on to Emerson. And by the time I got to Emerson, I was really immersed in the training of theater. And of course, I got to New York in '79, and Denzel and Sam and LaTanya and Charles Dutton, and I saw all these names. Mary Alice and Esapatha Murkison, and I said, man, that's what I want to do. But I think not just Glenda, but Kenny and Mike Malone and you know, Debbie Allen, all my teachers were very instrumental. Glenda saw something that they all saw, and she just took it a step further. Not so much a step further, they all collaborated and said, "We think Clifton can play this role." You know, and so she came in and brought a fresh new perspective to my eye, because she was a master at what she did. They were all masters.
So speak to that perspective, right? So what I'm really trying to get to here is, you know, people have, or kids these days have all the opportunity in the world. They have all these teachers, resources available to them to learn, grow, and develop whatever skill set they're looking to have, right? But there's something that was in you that told you to continue upon that path, no matter, you know, what they were telling you? So
well, I think you know, sometimes I like to say it's divine intervention. You know, where I just, once the magic of the arts took over, I just got mesmerized.
Yeah.
And I just was determined to go on in spite of anything. You know, my early days, I was poor, I was struggling, I was homeless a couple of times, I lived in rooming houses. You know, I had one of my partners, Jacob Williams, he's, you know, moved me into a rooming house. I was living with my teacher, Glenda, and she took me in because I was homeless. And this is New York days now. This is after high school. And then, you know, she was doing a big show and she, you know, was downsizing and I had to move. And I ended up living in a rooming house. And Jacob was, you know, I went to college with him. He went to graduate school at my Emerson, where I went to undergrad. This is after college in my early New York days. And he went home and told his mom, he said, man, I just moved one of my buddies into a rooming house, man. And the place is horrible. Do you think he could come live with us? And his parents let me come and they helped me get a job. And then I got into the theater, you know, and I was able to make a little bit of money. But I just had something. My father always said to me, where there's a will, there's a way. And my father, you know, my father only had a 4th grade education, but he was a very determined man, and he, you know, he succumbed later in life to the pressures of life and alcoholism, but he did a great job along with my sister and all my teachers and Darryl Harvey and Imogene Johnson and all my other angels, JB, and all the people that, my cousin Francis, my Aunt Alma, all the people that had a hand in raising me. My father always said, man, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can do it. And I just never let that leave my mind. So no matter what my struggle was, and I say that to all the young people out there and to anybody that's going through anything right now. You know, my father used to say, man, if it don't kill you in the next 24 hours, it's gonna make you stronger. You know, so that's, you know, the hope that's the hope that I walked with every day in the spite of, you know, how I started in terms of this business, because it's a rough business to get started in. You know, people see me work, you know, as an actor consistently. I had 20 years of unemployment, you know, and I'm not looking back, you know, so I'm a hustler now, you know, so that's what it is, man. And I just tell young people, if you can believe it, man, and you put it in your mind, I'm a young African-American kid out of the hood who wanted to be a football player and drive a bus. And, you know, I had no idea how I got here, but I just had a determination, and I never quit.
So can you kind of speak to that experience as well, working with Jamie Foxx, the Academy Awards, NAACP, Image Award nomination? You know, kind of speak to that and that experience of being in Ray.
You know, first of all, I take my hat off to Jamie Foxx, who stood up in the room and said, if you guys don't hire Cliff Powell, I don't think we're going to have a movie. Had a great audition, but you know, I don't know which way it was going, but Jamie said, hey, I want Clifton Powell. And he did a great job, and you know, first want to thank him so much, you know, just for believing in me. It was what I call a peak experience. Great cast, Terrence Howard, Regina King, Lorenz Tate, Bokeem Woodbine, and ironically, I went to college with Bokeem's mom. That's crazy. Kerry Washington. It was just a wonderful time, and it was tough work. It was hot every day, but we were all soldiers, man, because Jamie handpicked us all, you know, and he was our leader, you know, and it was, you know, for me, when you do a movie, you're not exactly sure how it's going to be received. You're not exactly sure how the character's going to be received. And I was really honored to be working with Taylor Hackford, who's one of the best in the business. And a lot of times Taylor would throw me in a scene because, you know, Jeff Brown wasn't in all of those scenes. And he gave me a card at the end. He said, to Clifton Powell, my go-to guy, who never dropped the ball, man. So it was just such an honor to play Jeff Brown, but be a part of a wonderful ensemble. To be a part of watching Jamie Foxx win an Academy Award, all of us being nominated for a SAG Award, and just being a part of history and the story of the great Ray Charles. You know, I grew up listening to Ray Charles, and man, it was quite a journey. And I just can't really find the right words to really put it in perspective how magical it was. And it was magical every day on the streets. There were hundreds of people out there every day. And I really want to thank the city of New Orleans, man. They were and we shot the last part of it in LA. They were such gracious hosts to have us there. It was incredible, man. And then seeing it afterwards and watching the journey that we all went on, it was incredible.
That's incredible. That is incredible. But I do have a question about that.
Yes, sir.
You say Jamie Foxx, right? You've also worked with Chris Tucker.
Yes, sir.
You worked with who else? Here we got here. I'm talking about comedians. Mike Epps.
Cat Williams. My first movie I did was
Chris Rock.
House Party. I worked with I can't believe I'm having a brain freeze right now. Bebe's Kids. Come on, you got it. I'm having a brain. Guys, I'm having a brain freeze. Ah, man.
Bebe's Kids.
What's the comedian? Okay, we gotta come back. We gotta come back to that. We gotta come back to that. I'm having a brain freeze, guys. But working with comedians, man, like Jamie Foxx and Chris Tucker and Mike Epps and Robin Harris. I had a brain freeze. I'm 62. Shut up.
That's my fault, though.
That's not your fault.
I should be
no.
Man.
When I first saw him, I used to see him at the Comedy Room, right? Yeah. And Comedy Act Theater. He was incredible, and I was on the set with him, man. I'm talking about comedians are so spontaneous, and you got to stay on top of your game. Mike Epps, Jamie Foxx. I did the Jamie Foxx show, man. I had to be on top of my game. Cat Williams is quick on his feet. Robin Harris was the master. Mike Epps, and next Friday and Friday after next, he'll throw you some stuff, and you just got to go with it. Man. So
Mike Epps is crazy.
And Chris Tucker in Rush Hour. We just had great, and we all are friends, and we all had great, chemistry. I didn't know.
Who's the funniest?
Dude, everybody. I don't think you can pick one. Jamie Foxx is hilarious. Mike Epps is hilarious. Cat Williams has his own style. He's hilarious. Robin Harris, if you've never seen him in the Comedy Act Theater, bro, man, people would go to the bathroom and not come back from the bathroom. Put the light on, So it's hard to pick one. All of those guys. Earthquake is my guy, So it's just an honor to have been in movies with some of these icons.
Yeah. Who were you scared to cut you up the most? Who was going to get you behind the scenes and just have you almost ready to run back to the trailer?
Jamie Foxx can go.
He can go.
You don't really want to crack on Jamie and just leave a joke out there on Jamie because he's gonna get you. I messed around on a set of House Party and made a joke about Robin Harris. Man, he went on a 5-minute rant on me, and I was like, wow, okay. I should have said that.
Yeah.
And I'll never do that again. So I don't really mess around with comedians too much, I remember I was doing a Jamie Foxx radio thing when he was on what is it? FX, not FX. XM. And I was messing around with Speedy and one of his boys, and I had an all black on.
Yeah.
And they said, Cliff, it looks like that chain is walking by itself. And and then they went on a rant, and I just stayed in my corner, man, because you don't really want to go on a rant with comedians. And like I said, I made a mistake and tried to say something about Robin Harris, and he just went to work. He said, you can watch a TV on your forehead. And I was like, Mr. Harris, I'm sorry. And he just went on a rant. So you do not want to go on, if you're not trained as a comedian, you really don't want to go back to toe-to-toe with
if you're witty.
You can be witty and not trained as a comedian. Yeah. It's not the same thing, bro. And just trust me.
That's great. What about actors, actresses? You've, again, 200 plus credits and counting. You've worked with some phenomenal people. Who stands out to you? I
gotta tell you, Regina King is one of my favorite.
Absolutely.
She is a consummate pro. Working with Halle Berry and Vivica Fox and
Jada Pinkett.
Jada Pinkett is all fabulous actresses. Kerry Washington did a great job in Ray. They all are pros, and they all come to work, man. And there's no crap. And I tell you, I love working with Lisa Ray. Lisa Ray is so gentle and so professional. And you know, we have such chemistry when we did. I think we did Civil Brand together.
Okay.
Monica Calhoun, Christelle Wilson. You know, some of the other actresses I've worked with, but they all come, man. There's a camaraderie that we've all had on some of these movie sets. Jackie is one of my favorite.
Wow.
I'm talking about quick on her feet.
Wow.
We've done plays together.
Yeah.
Just come with a lot of love, you know. Debbie Allen. You know, I've never worked with her as an actress, but as a directress.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did the early days of the Sinbad show, and she was directing, and just a respect, because we all come with love and respect, man.
And
you know,
understand
and
the craft,
understand the craft. You know, and you see it on the screen. You see it like with Ice Cube. You see it with Mike Epps. We all come to work. Cat Williams, man, Terry Crews. We all got in there and just mix it up, throw things around, and we have a good time, man. It's not a lot of egos, you know. But those ladies bring the noise, you know.
They certainly do.
And I try to, you know, like I said, I don't camaraderie with my fellow actresses. So I kind of, you know, stay in the background, do my thing, and when it's time to go home, I go home, you know, and try to keep that out. But, you know, when you work with beautiful actresses, it's always kind of hard. But, you know, I keep it in mind that it's all, you know, professional for me, you know, but it's fun.
And let's look at a little bit more of that professionalism here with a clip from Selma.
Selma, Lord Selma. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
What do you think's gonna happen? I don't know. Looks like people marching anyway. Nobody should march today. People should stay in their houses, and we should get to school as fast as we can. I'm gonna march with Dr. King. Shy, it's too scary. Come with me, please. Jonathan, why'd they burn the cross, and what does this mean?
I think they're trying to tell us that not even God can protect us from them.
We still have to believe in Dr. King's methods. Nonviolence.
How you doing, brother? How you? Hey, Reverend Hosea.
Lord have mercy, Jesus.
More than ever, we need God's blessing here today.
Yes. Amen.
Lord, hear our prayer. We come asking you to give us strength. Let us look hatred in the face, with love in our hearts. You are with us, watching over us. Amen. Amen. Each one of you needs to look into your heart. Decide whether you want to carry on with this march.
We going.
We going.
I'm telling you right now, we're not going to let any cross burning stop us. We're not going to let any hatred stop us. We're not going to let nothing turn us around. No, sir. We're moving on. We're moving on.
Wow. Such a powerful and historic piece there.
Man, you're going to make me cry, man. Where you get all these clips from, bro? You're going to make me cry, man. I tell you, you know, whenever you see a clip, you know, your mind goes back to that day. And, you know, you go back to your research. You go back to the day you auditioned.
Right.
You know.
All those memories.
All those memories. It's just crazy, man. But I'm glad the audience is getting a chance to see the range of the work.
Yeah.
You know, and not get stuck thinking that African American actors just play one role. Right. We play a variety of roles. We're trained. we're just as trained as our counterparts, our white counterparts, black, Latino, Asian. We're trained actors, man. They're just characters. I play doctors, lawyers. If you watch me on Martin, I played a cop. I'm playing a pastor on Black Lightning. I'm playing Rex Fisher. So I go from playing pastors to Pinky. That's all this
all
training.
These different roles, all these different characters, all the skill set and range you're showing. What's next? You know, what's left on the bucket list after almost 40 years?
I'm gonna go bungee jumping like Will Smith. You know, man, I just finished doing Hawaii 5-0. With the great Lou Gossett, written by Shy McBride, acted in with Shy McBride, who's one of the regulars, and the incredible and amazing Miss Gladys Knight, along with everybody on Hawaii 5-0, the crew and everybody. But Shy McBride is one of the regulars. He wrote the role for me, and it was such an honor. I want to do more stuff like that. I'm loving doing Saints and Sinners. So thank everybody for tuning in. I love doing Black Lightning, man. I mean, we're a black superhero. You know, I just got a call to direct the movie.
That's wonderful.
So we're trying to close that deal. So hopefully I'll be doing more directing and producing. I got some stories. I have a story called In My Father's House about my relationship with my oldest son. I got a thing I want to do on my younger son, who is a basketball player turned actor, called Basketball Dads. And I have another story I want to develop with one of my lady friends about a young lady who struggles up and ends up in the ministry. You know, comes out of
These
a
are
tough,
all very
things that I want to develop. And you know, I want to be able to have a voice and share wonderful stories with the world. I never thought about that coming up, so that's where I'm headed. You know, I've just got back from Hawaii doing Hawaii 5-0, and then we're gonna do Saints and Sinners, but gonna be directing and producing.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much again for joining me today. This has really been a pleasure for me. It's a historic moment in my life, so I thank you for that. And I thank you all again for tuning in. This has been, you know, a great hour. We talked about a great array of things. You can catch the show, Book It Now, on Tuesdays at 5:30 Eastern, every week on Tuesday, that is. You can catch Saints and Sinners on Bounce TV. Check out Mr. Powell's resume. You know, like I said, 200 plus credits. This man has a phenomenal resume. I know you've seen his face before. Go out and see it some more times. He has a long range and wide resume. So thank you for joining Book It Now. If you would like to be on the show, visit our website, www.bookitnowtv.com. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. And remember, if no one has told you that they love you today, remember that I do, and I always will. God bless you. Good night.
Good night.